So my topic is metacarpophalangeal dislocation, pearls and pitfalls. This is relatively uncommon. Usually it is on the dorsal side compared to Volar. The Volar is very rare, and usually it is on the border digits. That means index, thumb, and the little finger. And broadly, it is classified into two types: simple and complex. So by definition, any irreducible dislocation is called as a complex dislocation. So let's see what is complex and simple. So you, you can see that simple, in both there is a tear of the Volar plate from the proximal attachment, but in simple you can see the Volar plate is still draping the metacarpal head. It is not still flipped back. In complex you can see the Volar plate has gone behind the metacarpal head. So that makes the reduction very difficult, almost impossible in complex dislocation. So what is the pathomechanics of this complex dislocation, which is very well described by Kaplan in 1957? Usually it starts with a hyperextension injury, which causes tear of the Volar plate from its proximal attachment or the metacarpal neck, and then the Volar plate sits on the dorsal aspect of the head. So the Volar plate is interposed in the MCP joint, and there is this particular noose of soft tissue structures which make the reduction very difficult. So what are the structures which form the tight finger trap like thing on around the neck of the metacarpal? So these are the four structures we can see. Usually the flexor tendon on the the ulnar aspect of the metacarpal head, the lumbrical on the radial aspect, the superficial transverse ligament on the proximal aspect, and the deep transverse and volar plate on the dorsal or distal aspect of the metacarpal head. So all these four structures form a tight noose which around the neck of the metacarpal, which makes the reduction very difficult in a complex dislocation. And also you can notice one structure. This is a digital nerve, especially the radial digital nerve in the index finger, which is being tented by the metacarpal head, and it is almost subcutaneous in this particular dislocation. So particularly when we are approaching it by Volar approach, it is very highly prone to get damage if the surgeon is not careful enough to take the incision itself, because it is lying under the skin. So that's how the patient comes to you with the history of injury, like hyperextension type of injury, and the position of the finger is like that: the hyperextension at the MP joint and a flexion at the interphalangeal joint. Along with that, you can see the pucker sign at the metacarpal phalangeal joint, and there is some ulnar deviation of the index finger. So this is clinically how the patient is present. Then the next thing that you usually do is a regular X-rays, that is AP, lateral, and the oblique views, in which it is very well seen that there is some incongruity of the metacarpophalangeal joint. But apart from that, you also notice that whether there is any osteochondral fragment which is coming from the metacarpal head, because that will change our approach. And number two, we should also look for the presence of sesamoid bone into the metacarpophalangeal joint, because that signifies that it's probably a complex dislocation and it is very unlikely to get the reduction by close maneuver. So that's how we investigate the patient. Next thing, once you have confirmed the diagnosis of the metacarpophalangeal dislocation, next thing is to reduce it as early as possible, and that is to be done under good anesthesia with full relaxation, maybe regional block or general anesthesia. So as long as it is a simple dislocation, this maneuver of wrist flexion, that is very important, because that will relax that flexor tendon, and pushing the base of the proximal phalanx. We have to do little hyperextension and push the base of the proximal phalanx distally and volarly. So usually in simple dislocation, we get the reduction with this particular maneuver. But the pitfall in this is always there should not be no amount of traction should be applied to the finger, because that will make the noose of soft tissue structure more tight, and that will definitely not give the reduction overall. And and also that is that converts the simple dislocation into complex dislocation, because the traction itself causes more damage to the more tear of the proximal attachment of the Volar plate, and it will cause the Volar plate to flick back on the dorsal aspect of the metacarpal head. Another thing, the pitfall is having multiple attempts of reduction. That is still you have to prevent that, because avoid that, because if you are doing repeated attempts, that is going to cause damage to the metacarpal head, avascular necrosis, and probably a later osteoarthritis changes. And in pediatric population, you may get the physeal arrest. So once this reduction is achieved, if it is a simple dislocation, you can go ahead with the buddy taping and early mobilization. But then if you don't get the reduction, that is what you see. Clinically, you will not be able to achieve the full flexion if you have not got the full reduction, and the flexion will be having a springy endpoint. Another thing that you will notice is puckering is still present, and on the X-ray you will see on the CM image you will see a widened joint space. That means you are not got the reduction. So the next step that comes is a open reduction, and these are the two approaches which we can go for, and both are good. Both have pros and cons. So usually the proponents of Palmer approach, that's it, is a Palmer approach goes through the already disrupted tissues. So because the lesion is on the Volar side, the soft tissue noose is on the Volar side, where we are going through the damaged tissue. So we are not causing any surgical insult to the healthy tissue. That's one. And so that's how you preserve the dorsal extensor mechanism, dorsal capsule, and that offers stability to the reduced joint in the flexion, and that's how we can mobilize the joint early. But the dorsal is a safe and simple approach, very easy, because it gives a direct access to the Volar plate, which has flipped back on the metacarpal head. And in the dorsal approach, there is no risk to damage the digital nerve, which can happen in the Volar approach if the surgeon is not aware of the radial digital nerve lying beneath the skin. And if there is an osteochondral fragment, you can access it through the dorsal approach, and we cannot get it through Volar. So these are the downside of the Volar approach also. We cannot get the access to Volar plate from Volar side because it has already flipped on the back side. And the osteochondral fragment also we cannot get through Volar approach. So I got this. I'm grateful to Dr. Randy Bindra sir, who has given me his case. So this is a young lady who presented 1 week after the injury with the hyperextension mechanism, and this is how she presents. There is a hyperextension, slight hyperextension of the MP joint and flexion of the interphalangeal, and this is the X-ray. So in this we can see that there is a dislocation, but there is a osteochondral, very good quality X-ray. There is an osteochondral fragment, and in this case, I think the dorsal approach is the right choice to go for, and that's how. This is the lateral X-ray. So this is how we go for the dorsal approach. Dorsal is a very easy and very safe approach in which we take a midline incision centered over the MP joint. We cut the skin subacute, go to the extensor apparatus, split the extensor mechanism in the center, reflect. Then you go to the capsule, cut the capsule in the center, release the hematoma, and then you get to the Volar plate, which is entrapped inside the joint. So this is a this is osteochondral fragment, and this is a Volar plate which is entrapped into the metacarpophalangeal joint. So we have to slit the Volar plate in the center, and that will just give us a reduction, and that's how we see. This is a osteochondral fragment, but there is nothing interposing now in the metacarpophalangeal joint, and that's how we get the reduction. The dorsal fragment, osteochondral fragment, can be fixed with the K-wire, and that's how we get the reduction. So that's case number 1. Another case I got from Dr. Hemant Patankar sir. So this is again a young chap with the hyperextension injury and presenting almost 10 days after the injury. This was approached through a Volar approach. So this is the X-ray. There is no osteochondral fragment which is obvious on this X-ray. So both approaches are okay. And in this case, particularly the Volar approach was taken. You can see the radial nerve which is tented by the metacarpal head, and if the surgeon is not aware, he can easily cut the neurovascular bundle. But the easier part here is once you go to the Volar approach, we can just cut the A1 pulley, so that will release the flexor tendon and one of the four tight structure in the noose. So flexor tendon is released, and you can very well put a freer elevator and get the metacarpal head back. You can the advantage of Volar approach is we can preserve the Volar plate with rather than cutting it, and you can retrieve the Volar plate. Yes. So that's the post-op X-ray with a well-reduced joint and a clinical picture. So post-op protocol is usually we immobilize the joint, MP joint in 45-degree of flexion for 3 weeks. For next 3 weeks, we give the extension block splint to start the range of motion, but avoid hyperextension in that for next 3 weeks. And after 6 weeks, we can start the patient on light activities. Yeah, I think that's enough. Thank you. Thank you, sir.